As the sounds of the two men's frantic footsteps fleeing outside the door completely faded away, the library fell back into a deathly silence. Jiangxi lay limp on the icy floor, her tightly wound nerves suddenly relaxed, followed by an even more overwhelming surge of the drug's effects. The scorching heat felt like countless ants gnawing at her bones, burning away all her reason. Fu Yan Shu, he murmured unconsciously, her hands clawing at the cumbersome red dress on her body, trying to find a sliver of coolness. A faint, mournful laugh came from above her. Fu Yanzhu looked down at her from his height, his narrow eyes swirling with obscure, unfathomable emotions. He took a long stride, the sound of his leather shoes hitting the floor heavy and dull as he approached step by step. He crouched in front of her, his long, powerful fingers mercilessly gripping her chin, forcing her to look up. "Didn't you just beg me not to tell anyone? How is it that you don't even remember who I am now?" His voice was low and magnetic, carrying a bone-minus chilling oppression. She struggled to open her eyes. Through her blurred vision, she could only see the man's sharply defined face, a high-minus-bridged nose, thin, unfeeling lips, and those eyes that seemed to see right through a person. Fear and desire intertwined within her. She knew who this man was: Fu Ming's uncle, the true power holder of the Fu family, a ruthless, unapproachable living devil. "An uncle," she called out, her voice trembling, trying to use this status to create distance between them. "Huh." Fu Yanzhu let out a cold laugh, his thumb stroking her burning cheek. "You call that quite smoothly. Why weren't you this obedient when you were heading to Fu Ming's room just now?" Jiangzi, his heart trembled. So he knew everything. I didn't. She weakly defended herself, but her body honestly leaned closer to him, like a vine thirsting for water. A dark glint flashed in Fu Yanzhu's eyes, looking at the disheveled, flushed woman before him. The long-minus suppressed restlessness in his heart was thoroughly ignited. She was Fu Ming's fiancée, the real heiress the Zhang family had just found. The delicate rose everyone believed needed protection. But now, this rose was blooming defenselessly before him, exuding a fatal temptation. "Zhangxi." He leaned close to her ear, his warm breath brushing her sensitive earlobe. "Do you know what you're doing right now?" Jiangxi could no longer make out what he was saying. She only knew that the man before her was her only antidote. She reached out trembling, grabbed Fu Yanzhu's collar, and with all her might, pulled him toward her. "Save me," she pleaded, her voice broken and seductive. Fu Yanzhu's body stiffened, then he took control, wrapping an arm around her waist. "You asked for this." No sooner had the words left his mouth than he suddenly leaned down, fiercely kissing her chattering little mouth. The kiss held no gentleness, filled with plunder and possession. Jiangxi whimpered, wanting to struggle, but he held her tightly in his arms. His kissing skills were superb, with an irresistible domineeringness, slowly prying open her teeth, sweeping in, conquering every inch of sweetness in her mouth. Jiangxi felt she was about to suffocate, yet she craved the pleasure this suffocation brought. Her hands weakly clung to his shoulders, letting him take whatever he wanted. Fu Yanzhu's large hand slid down her exposed spine, causing tremors wherever it passed. Jiangxi cowled in help, but let out a soft moan. This moan was like a catalyst, completely igniting the flames within Fu Yanzhu. He scooped her up and strode towards a study room deep in the library. There was a bed he usually used to rest. With a bang, the study room door was kicked shut. Fu Yanzhu threw Jiangxi onto the bed and pressed out on her. Jiangxi looked at the god-like man above her, her eyes filled with confusion and desire. "Fu Yanzhu," she called again, this time with a hint of initiative. Fu Yanzhu paused, looking into her misty, watery eyes, the last shred of reason in his heart collapsing. He lowered his head and kissed her again, this time much gentler, with a hint of coaxing. "Be good. Call me uncle," he whispered in her ear, his voice terribly hoarse. Jiangxi, already muddled by desire, couldn't distinguish between seniority and ethics anymore. She could only obediently nod. "Uncle." This soft, tender uncle completely shattered Fu Yanju's defenses. He no longer restrained himself, beginning a storm of conquest. An unknown amount of time later, the storm finally subsided. Zhangxi lay weakly on the bed, without the strength to even move a finger. Her body was covered in ambiguous marks like a rose that had been ravaged though disheveled. It appeared even more delicate and beautiful. Fu Yanju leaned against the headboard, a cigarette between his fingers, in the swirling smoke. His expression was somewhat inscrutable. He glanced sideways at the woman sleeping beside him, a complex emotion flickering in his eyes. He knew he had crossed a line tonight. She was Fu Ming's fiancée, his nominal niece minus law. But from the moment he first saw her in the orphanage 3 years ago, he knew this woman was someone he had to have. He just never expected this day to come so quickly, so unexpectedly. She coughed lightly and slowly opened her eyes. Seeing Fu Yanju beside her, the memories of last night flooded back like a tide. Her face paled, and she instinctively pulled the blanket over her body. Awake! Fu Yanju stubbed out his cigarette, his voice regaining its usual coolness. Jiangxi didn't dare look at him. Lowering her head, her voice as faint as a mosquito's hum. Scared? Fu Yanju raised an eyebrow, reaching out to pinch her chin, forcing her to look up. Jiangxi was forced to meet his gaze. Her eyes filled with fear and unease. Mr. Fu, what happened last night? Was an accident, she said, forcing calm. You'll forget it, and I ask that you keep it a secret. An accident? Fu Yanju sneered. Do you think something like this can be an accident? Zhangzi, his heart tightened. What do you want? Fu Yanju released her, picked up a check from the nightstand, and tossed it in front of her. This is 50 million. Consider it compensation. Jiangxi looked at the check, a flicker of humiliation in her eyes. What do you take me for? She asked through gritted teeth. What do I take you for? The corner of Fu Yanju's mouth curled into a mocking arc. Isn't that obvious? Last night? You were the one who climbed into my bed. Jiangxi trembled with anger. You took advantage of me. Say whatever you want. Fu Yanju shrugged inferently. Take the money and well pretend this never happened. But he changed his tone, his eyes turning sharp. If you dare tell Fu Ming, or anyone else, I don't mind making the Zhang family disappear from this world. Jiangxi, his heart trembled. She knew Fu Yanju had the power to do that. I won't say anything. She lowered her head, her voice shaking. Better not. Fu Yanju nodded in satisfaction. Get up, get dressed. The banquet isn't over yet. With that, he got up and walked into the bathroom. Jiangxi watched his retreating back, tears finally spilling uncontrollably. She didn't know how she managed to get dressed or how she walked out of the library. When she returned to the banquet hall, the event was nearing its end. Seeing her, Fu Ming immediately walked over, a trace of anxiety on his face. Ashi, where did you go? I've been looking for you for ages. Jiangxi looked at her nominal fiancé before her, a complex emotion surging in her heart. Last night, if it weren't for Fu Yanju, she might have already been ruined by the 2 men Fu Ming had arranged. I went to the restroom, she said softly. Oh, I see. Fu Ming didn't suspect anything, just looked her up and down. You don't look well. Are you feeling unwell? No, I'm just a bit tired. Jiangxi brushed it off. Just then, old Master Fu walked over. Aji, why are you here alone? Ming, hurry and take your wife to rest. Fu Ming quickly responded, yes, grandfather. Jiangxi followed Fu Ming out. Passing by Fu Yanju, she subconsciously paused. Fu Yanju was surrounded by a crowd, listening to others' flattery with an indifferent expression. Seeming to sense her gaze, he slightly turned his head, his eyes passing over the crowd to land on her. That gaze was deep and dark, carrying a barely perceptible warning. Jiangxi, his heart trembled, quickly averting her eyes and following Fu Ming away. Returning to Fu Ming's residence. Zhang Ji excused herself to take a shower and hid in the bathroom. She looked at her reflection in the mirror. Covered in marks, her heart filled with despair. She knew the ledger between her and Fu Yanzhu had only just begun. Early the next morning, Zhang Ji was awakened by Fu Ming. Hussy, there's a business cocktail party today. Come with me, Fu Ming said as he tied his tie. Zhang Ji frowned. I don't want to go. Don't want to go. Fu Ming turned, his expression somewhat displeased. You're my fiancé. How can you miss such an occasion? Besides, there will be many important people at this party. It'll be good for your Zhang family too. Zhang Ji knew he spoke the truth and could only nod helplessly. Fine. You'll go. At the cocktail party venue, Zhang Ji held Fu Ming's arm, a proper smile on her face. She was no stranger to such occasions. In the orphanage to survive, she had to learn to read people, to please those with power and influence. Hey, is it us, young Master Fu? A frivolous voice came. Zhang Ji turned to look. A man in a flashy suit walked over one of the two men from outside the library last night. Young Master Wang, Fu Ming greeted coolly. Young Master Wang's gaze fell on Zhang Ji, a flash of admiration and greed in his eyes. So, this is young Master Fu's fiancé? As the rumors say, truly a great beauty. Disgust welled in Zhang Ji his heart. She instinctively shrank behind Fu Ming. But, Fu Ming frowned. Young Master Wang, watch your words. Oh, young Master Fu. Don't be angry, young Master Wang said with a cheeky grin. In just joking, but young Master Fu, you were quite lucky last night. You almost could've. Young Master Wang, Fu Ming's face darkened, cutting him off. Zhang Ji, his heart skipped. Did he know about last night? Young Master Wang seemed to realize something and quickly shut his mouth, letting out a dry laugh. I've had too much to drink, talking nonsense. Young Master Fu, Miss Zhang, enjoy yourselves. I'll excuse myself. With that, he turned and left. Fu Ming watched his retreating back, a flicker of doubt in his eyes. Shi, do you know him? He turned to ask Zhang Ji. Zhang Ji shook her head. No. Oh, Fu Ming didn't think much of it pulling her along. Zhang Ji, however, sighed in relief. It seemed last night's incident hadn't been exposed. Just then, she felt a scorching gaze land on her. She instinctively looked up. In a corner not far away, Fu Yanzhu stood holding a glass, quietly watching her. His gaze was deep and dark, carrying a hint of amusement and possessiveness. Zhang Ji, his heart trembled, quickly averting her eyes. She knew that from last night, she had already fallen into a huge whirlpool, and at the center of this whirlpool was the man who both terrified and tempted her, Fu Yanzhu. Halfway through the cocktail party, Fu Ming was pulled away by a few business partners. Zhang Ji stood alone in a corner board sipping juice. Miss Zhang, hello? Hello? Magnetic voice sounded by her ear. Zhang Ji stiffened, turning to see Fu Yanzhu standing behind her at some point. Mr. Fu. She nervously tightened her grip on her glass. What? Are you that nervous just seeing me? A faint smile curled at the corner of Fu Yanzhu's mouth. No, Zhang Ji lowered her head, not daring to look at him. Did you sleep well last night? Fu Yanzhu suddenly leaned close, whispering in her ear. Zhang Ji, his face flushed, her heart racing. It was fine. Oh? Fu Yanzhu chuckled lightly. I feel like you're still savoring last night. Zhang Ji, his head snapped up, glaring at him. What nonsense are you talking? Whether it's nonsense or not, you know in your heart. Fu Yanzhu looked at her flushed face, a flicker of amusement in his eyes. Zhang Ji was too angry to speak. All right, I won't tease you. Fu Yanzhu collected his smile, his expression turning serious. Tonight at 10, he'll be waiting for you at the hotel. What? Zhang Ji was stunned. Tonight at 10, he'll be waiting for you at the hotel. Fu Yanzhu repeated, his tone brooking no argument. If you don't come, he'll come find you. With that, he turned and left, leaving Zhang Ji standing alone. filled with shock and denial. She knew this was Fu Yanzhu's final ultimatum. She had no choice but to go.